And Bemboachi was talking about government gold for oil policy, and I think that it's come again up for debate.
Yeah.
And especially knowing that there are relevant people within the space of oil and gas, energy, who have been raising concerns about the need for clarity on many other things.
Yeah.
And Ben Boachi again was expressing some misgivings about how role plays or scenarios where, let's say, the oil was pegged at a certain price on the international market, and you're saying that there's going to be a good for oil policy, which, by the way, initially was communicated to be a policy that would ensure that it's purely gold, we're going for oil. Now we have an intermediary, subsequently, of course. So it means that even those within the industry, not us, still don't have some level of clarity. To know that we've had at least 2 windows where we've brought in oil through this very policy initiative, and the industry players, those that are respected both locally and internationally, are still raising questions or asking questions. I think that the Vice President, apart from just giving praise to a policy he says is a good one, needs to also better come in undertake a lot of clarification on what really it means. The intermediary, could we have gone straight away to where to buy the oil and then do that? Do we need an intermediary, and why the intermediary is needed, etc.? Because it makes people just speculate and conjecture. You leave everybody, not us, but those within the industry to speculate, you know.
I honestly have a problem with the fact that, as you earlier said, it was clearly stated the idea is to exchange gold, which we have, for oil that we do not, and cut out the whole issue of exchanging for dollars before whatever it is. Now, if we get to a point where you're telling us, and the Deputy Energy Minister, Honorable Japamesa, came out to state that the 40,000 tons we first got as our consignment was actually using cash to get the oil. At that particular point in time, then what was the point of the policy? And he goes on to state that the companies they were dealing with did not have the capacity to get the gold, in exchange for the oil. Then that means we didn't really think through the policy.
Or maybe we rushed through it.
We rushed through the policy. And at this point in time, with how our economic issues are and how the economic situation is in the country, every policy that we put out there should be properly thought through, all options reviewed before we get to a point where, even though we've assumed that we're going to give people gold and then get oil, we now get to a point where we're stuck and have to now exchange the gold for cash to get the oil. That defeats the whole point. We're still chasing the limited amount of dollars that we have in our system and still trying to, and which ends up convoluting the entire exchange rate, hoping that we were hoping to solve with this policy in the first place.
I agree, absolutely. And for me, it was even that admission that worried me, even though they had clearly stated that there were going to be 2 ways of doing the exchange, either by barter or then you get forex from people who sell the gold for the foreign exchange, and then they give you the money as well. But even that, it took a while for even Bank of Ghana to come and confirm that we actually had used cash, because they were, they were a little dodgy about the whole conversation. But was oil for gold or gold for oil the best option to go? I remember I was listening to Mr. Alex Mould, who's the former CEO of GMPC, and he was saying that, in actual fact, this is government now coming into direct competition with the BDCs and the companies that they are buying from, because they have the legal mandate to be able to buy from the outside market and bring it in. Now, if you come in and say that we're not going to allow you to buy from those people again, in fact, we are the ones going to do it. First of all, you're cutting down on whatever profits they would make. When in actual fact, what you could do as Bank of Ghana is to give the forex to these BDCs at the lowest rate possible, so that these BDCs can still go out there and buy it and bring it in. Because in a way, that will also reduce the prices. The reason why it's high is because they have to now bring it in, buy it in dollars, bring it in, sell it in cedis, now change the cedis to dollars. And that is why they're affected by the exchange rate. So if it goes higher, whatever cedi you have, you probably may have made a loss. You have to find extra to pay for it. So give them the forex at, the Bank of Ghana rate a little lower, so that they can be able to buy it. that wasn't done, and now we see the vice president who is touting the achievements of Go For. I thought that was a little too early.
Yeah, very
honestly.
premature in my opinion.
I mean, did they check all the factors, and is he really sure that that was the sole reason why we're going to see an almost 10% decrease in fuel prices today? If you listen to the industry players, they're saying that that's a joke, and that's really not true.
Yeah.
Because if you study, you know, the global oil prices, it's been declining since what? December.
Since.
Or even back then. So clearly that is a reason.
It's a ripple effect.
Now, we're not buying the dollar at 16 cedis anymore. Okay, we're buying it, now it's around 12 point something. So that also is a factor. And we know that those all play a role in how we're able to get our fuel prices on the low. Had they considered that before seeing the vice president come out and say that, I'm sure that a lot of people are unhappy and disappointed that the Gold for Oil is working? It's as if they never really listen to people. And it's like, I'm set in my ways. I don't care what you say. Whether or not it's working, I'm still going to go for it. And then eventually we crash.
And then everyone goes and says, well, it's other factors.
That's
we should have reviewed those factors in the first place.
I really don't understand.
And for me, for the industry players, those who tend to watch the industry, do the analysis, and by the way, have a good relationship with entities outside the country, the very countries that we trade with, then we have to then make sure that the concerns that have been raised, like BISEP, etc., are well clarified.
Yeah.
And I do understand how the vice president wants all of us to perhaps be very happy with, as far as this is concerned, the accolades, etc., that he's also given unto himself, that there is the need for all of us to know that the intent for which the government was given the mandate to come into office, where the structures of the economy were supposed to have been improved, which ultimately will improve the rate at which the economy performs and so affect the forex. We have to be told how we're focusing on that. Because there are other policy initiatives that we were told, like one district, one factory, etc., that would have influenced the way we add value to the raw products that we have. As at now, if you look at what the numbers are, per the last report by the finance minister when he came before Parliament, our import bill is $10 billion. It is. $10 billion. Currently, onions.
Yes.
As AJ and Bella will say, onions. Onions. Onion.
Being imported.
Onion.
Is that what it's called?
Infancy. Onions.
Onion.
You know, onions. Onions.
Which is a staple.
We get it from Niger. Niger, they are near Mauritania and those places. It is, sometimes within the year, we go to Burkina Faso for tomatoes. I mean, Charlie, and so we have to look at the overall issues and say, this is the plan within the medium to long term. We intend solving it. And the plan doesn't have to be only limited to a certain 4 years, 10 years, etc. As of now, since I started practicing journalism, apart from the 40-year development plan that we had, that I thought was quite a good one, because within the 40-year development plan that was put together by Dr. Thompson's NDPC, etc., we hadn't seen a plan that was far-reaching enough. The two political parties, the NPP and NDC, they have to come together and then give us a plan that works, because the rate at which we are going, the development is not going to be in tandem with its effects on our currency.
Exactly.
Because of the difficulties the CD has faced, anybody who has 1,000 Ghana cedi today knows that 1,000 Ghana cedis is trash.
Yes, honestly.
It's really trash. And now we're even told that if you have 1 million Ghana cedis in a bond, you are going to ultimately redeem that 1 million, and your returns, that has been renegotiated in 2037. You know, and so they have to come together and give us a plan. What is the plan?
Honestly.
What is the plan that is going to assure me that the next generation is not going to look back over the last 20 years like I have to say that, look, we have disappointed ourselves? Because the reality is, people would love to go and work in McDonald's in the United States, in South Africa,
as against staying in Ghana,
in the UK, or elsewhere in Europe, than to be bankers in Ghana.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the cash that you'll get,
Honestly,
it's better off. Right now, if you have somebody who gives you a remittance, the person even doesn't have to give you $100.
Oh, no.
They just give you like some $50, no, and then it comes through the Momo, and it's as if it's some 600, 700, 800 Ghana.
Even $30. Even $30.
You know,
the person has given you.
and these are the things that we need to talk about.
Yeah.
Because there are people who have sacrificed themselves. They decided to make the conscious decision not to take advantage of any travel opportunity. They decided to invest. People have businesses.
Yeah.
You can imagine that all your business that you have, that return that is in Ghana cedis is worthless. Because you can't even invest in any asset for you to be assured to say that, look, I've invested here and this is how much I'm going to get.
Which is why I was quite shocked when I saw a video of the Agric minister when he was stating why he wants to be president. And I haven't gotten over it.
The one that's making the mockery of him on social media.
I don't think I would ever get over something like this.
Yes,
because I thought you'd rather say that I want to be flag bearer because I want to be president to change the nation. But it was the reverse about wanting to be president because I want to be MPP flag bearer so I can, you know, do things for my party. And I think that as Ghanaians, we really need to open our eyes and our minds to realize that, honestly, a lot of politicians are not in for our good. They are not in for the good of the country, but probably are in for their own selves. Could he have made a mistake? A part of me wants to believe that he probably made a mistake and didn't realize it. Because if he meant what he said,
he meant
that
it.
I want
don't say that if he meant what
I'm giving him the benefits of the doubt. And I think that everybody deserves the benefits of the doubt as humans.
He doesn't deserve it.
No. I'm just saying that maybe, but if he really meant it, that he wants to be president because he wants to be flag bearer. And this is someone who has also occupied one of the highest positions in government. Agric sector is one of the key sectors that drives the economy.
Which is using as his campaign message,
that drives the economy. First of all, let's look at what you did as Agric minister.
Yeah.
Is it good enough to even warrant you wanting to run as president?
Thank you very much.
Because if you didn't do a good job as Agric minister, and now you're saying that I want to be president because I want to be the flag bearer of my party to promote my party, it's very worrying. My
thing is, look, even if you're staying on that topic, if we look at the successes or lack thereof of plentiful food and jobs, and we juxtapose it to the rising cost of food in Ghana, and how he's been able to sort of tout his own narrative. Whenever people say that things are expensive, he just sort of counters and says, no, maybe it's in your neighborhood, but where I am from, he's the only one that has his own numbers and own figures to support his own arguments. But even coming to this cash or oil for gold saga or policy, my thing is this: if you're pushing the agenda that is going to reduce forex, it's going to end up giving us cheaper fuel products. Yet, over the period that the first consignment of 40,000 tons has arrived, we've had petrol prices fluctuating. And we've had, in fact, 2 increases since then that means that the policy is truly not working out the way it needs to. Because if you're pushing one agenda, and because of that, we're all touting this gold for oil policy, and then we still see increments, then that means there's something not going on. That means the policy has not entirely been thought through, or there's a factor in there we're not considering or missing out on that is leading to the reverse, as against us seeing lower of everything and, in fact, improving our cost of living. Because, honestly, it leaves a lot to be desired. It really does.
Because when you ask the questions, for a policy that has had a budgetary support of over 600 million annually, and then you ask the question about what its impact has been on availability of food that will relate or influence pricing on the market, then you have to ask the question, why is it that as far as our import bill on food is concerned, we have to exceed our borders to go into our neighboring countries that sometimes we know sometimes are unstable. Burkina Faso is not the most stable country as far as we're related.
Neither is Niger.
Exactly. And you go to Agbogloshi, and the last time I was in Agbogloshi, I did a documentary there, and we're told that our people would have to go and bring onions, tomatoes, some other horticultural product from those countries. So when you have a minister who comes to tell you that, oh, there's availability of food, but you know that food prices are increasing, and they are not affected by the US dollar. You know, so you keep asking if those are the concerns that are being raised by those on the market, and then there are always rebuttals from the minister or the ministry that there's food available, yet prices are not reducing on the market. I don't know. We cannot leave all to the market forces to say they are the problem. They certainly cannot be the problem. And we have to look Ghanaians in the face to say that policies, though well-intended, have not been well implemented. Because if you look at, was it a pie chart that came of districts that was drawn prior to 2016 or for the 2016 election by the governing MPP, where every district in Ghana, based on the local products or the raw material that was available, will have a corresponding factory or industry. So if it is coconuts, you have maybe the husk being used for something else, some jute, something else. And we see that it hasn't had effect on the market. Then we should say that a policy that was well-intended has not been well implemented. And then if the implementation has been poor, what do we do to ensure that a good policy is well implemented? Look, we're going to have, if there is a change in government, new policies will be introduced. And the old ones, which ideally were good, will not be tweaked to be implemented, will be left. Because currently we have projects that were started. There's Saglemi, for example. You see, when you are going to Aplawu or any Adan, and you see Saglemi, and it's rotten away. If you are a conscientious Ghanaian and you don't ask yourself, that, what is wrong with us? If you don't question yourself, then you have to really know that maybe perhaps you are also a Ghanaian without a soul. Because you cannot spend money which is part of the debt that we currently are faced with, and decide that the project that looks good has to be left to rot, just because it is not my government that started it.
It makes no sense. And I think there's this whole credit. One has to take credit for whatever policy that they do. So the fact that someone else will take credit for it, it becomes a big issue. We can name certain projects, UGMC, so how long the back and forth before it was finally commissioned and people were actually able to use it, and how long people had to agitate for it to be done before it was, simply because it almost seemed like an issue of someone taking credit for the other one. But coming back to policy and something like planning for food and jobs, if, as according to the Ghana Statistical Service, over the up until July 2022, we had increased, or food imports had increased, food prices had increased by 26.6%. Then it doesn't make any sense for you to say that Ghana is the breadbasket, which our Agric Minister stated on, went on to say that Ghana is the breadbasket of Africa. How is that possible? Are we truly creating, planting, and also harvesting enough cereal for the rest of the African continent? That is a big no. At this point in time, if you are stating facts you are stating it as fact, then it truly brings to question what your stats are saying and what it really does. But then we shall go on to more with Johnny's Bites.
Yeah, certainly. Well, let's go to Johnny for Johnny's Bites.